Ningje Jembo, Zode Ningme Shin, Songne, Molam Jembo, Ngaja, Begara Darga, Zendo Shirme Do, Demba, Toje Jenla, Kuja, Zal. Omen Jodi, India, Bordane, Dosum Sanje, Lunye, Ngone, Ransom Jobo, Monsom Dons, Zawe Lame Shabla, Soade. Ne, Tamje, Samba Janju Chodo Todi Me Kolonge, Nasaldam Ne Sembarashu.
Hello everyone. Please give rise to pure excellent motivation of bodhicitta and
Ni Danda Negab Jiringla, and Khenpo Kamanjume, and Komgumido, and Chezanga Jawayin, Inayang, Kongi Sunyeje Samde, and Korarang Sungre, in Gyud Lama Korla, and Nazo Shegi.
in that spirit, please listen to the teachings. So we're studying the Uttara Tantra Shastra, and today I'm going to sub for Khenpo Karma Gyurme, also known as Dopa Tulku. And so Khenpo had started his explanation of the title and so on, and I will not go into that. Basically, Khenpo, he will continue where he left off when he is back. So what I will look at today is starting to look at the first 3 Vajra points out of the 7 Vajra points.
Nida Nazo Danda Lenye Jishungde, Pao Jambo Kumbre Zebi, Tenju Chimbanga Yore, Tenju Chimbanga Nane, da Tama La Yobade, Gyud Lama Segi Yore, Di Donga Samjar Jishunga Labu Yore, Ane Don Senyi Teba Nangne, Nangwe Channe, Ni Namsha Jeda Jeda, Tongbe Channe Namsha Jeda, Ni Yobi Nane, da Nangcha Nane Kaji Sheda Dire.
So our text, the Uttara Tantra Shastra, is the last final among the 5 treatises of the Buddha Maitreya. It is known as a bridge between the Sutric and the Tantric traditions. When it comes to the Sutric tradition of philosophical vehicle, there are 2 different teachings that one that emphasizes emptiness, and another teachings or the tradition of sutra that emphasizes appearing mode of phenomena, empty aspect and appearing aspect. And our text, Uttara Tantra Shastra, really one that emphasizes this appearing mode of phenomena. When we talk about appearing mode of phenomena, appearances, there are 2 ways to understand appearances. The one way is when appearing mode does not match the abiding mode of phenomena.
Nangcha Dela Ne Nang Mitumba, Nesul Ngobe Nesul Kari, Yemba Tedang, Nangsul Nibodi, Mitumba, Naranzo Sozo Geoji, Nangdan de Chagure, De Sungwadan Zemba Lazo Bateba, you want to sure ne, Nangsha Bore, Pena Chu Ranshin, the Chu Maton Waje, and Tamu Nubala Tene, Chaba Chaba Nanshin, Tanangazo Sozo Geo Same, Chu de Chaba Tong de Yure. Chudi Chutong de Yomare, Didi Nesul da Nangsul Mitumba Segre, Deneji Nangdan Jigdang, Nesul da Nangsul Tumbe Nangdan Jayure, Nesul da Nangsul Tumba de Nesanje da Jangju Samba di Nangdan de Zore, Jangju Sembe Nangdan de Yang Jaja Nenang Tumba Mare, Kanlang Kanzam Jetumba. Nenang Tumba Ngoma de Sanjere, Chula Chungoma Tomba Dodi, Nesul Ngoma de Chatamja Yaranshin Tabare. Nangsul Layang Tabarang Nangi Yure, Nezul the Nangsul Tumba Deni, Sanji Nangsulus, Wondus Nibinane, Tatanda Gyulama Shed, Nenang Tumba Gejede, so Choche, any Dedang Delviton Gejure.
So how phenomena appear is not in harmony with how they truly are. And that's how phenomena present themselves to ordinary beings. Beings like us who grasp onto impure phenomena, who are obscured, who have a lot of afflictive emotions that veil their vision, and so they see this kind of phenomena appearing, but really appearing not in the way how they truly are, like seeing frozen water, like seeing ice and not seeing it as water, kind of really mismatching, right? Appearance and the nature of phenomena. There's another way the appearing mode can present itself. That's when appearances are in harmony with how they truly are. When appearing mode matches the abiding mode of phenomena. That's how appearances present themselves to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. To the Bodhisattvas, it's not fully that way. It's not like for them, appearances appear exactly as they truly are, but it's really close to that. And for Buddhas, it's 100% across the board, the way that appearing mode matches the abiding mode of phenomena. So for the Buddhas, and only for the Buddhas, phenomena that appear as being completely pure, the pure phenomena, unlike for us ordinary beings and even for the bodhisattvas. We don't see that purity. It's because for us appearances do not match the way they truly are. And this is also illustrated in the Tantra Shastra itself, in the quote where it says, impure, partially impure and pure, and completely pure. That's how the phenomena are for ordinary beings, bodhisattvas and Buddhas respectively. If we look at this quote, we see that, first of all, it says impure. That's how phenomena are for the ordinary beings. Just we see them as being impure. The second line says partially pure and also impure. And this is how things are for the bodhisattvas, half-half, because they have already realized the natural state to some degree, and they have abandoned obscurations to some degree, so they do see the phenomena as being pure, but also still as being impure. And the third line is the one that says completely pure. That's how phenomena present themselves to the Buddhas, exactly as they truly are in their essence. That's also how they appear, and that's how they're seen by the enlightened beings.
Ni di kola shung peja daga nangla kare sung resi di mada taba da shindo namda korim chin semje changju semba da sangje namla rimshin no sung yore. Di ane nezul da nangzul girang shin di tagda manawa mada bakwana nangyo yoba di ni suresa na semjin res. Ni tagba chungse tagba yinba la tagma sarwa chaga chaba yinba roju triba dinzo ta ngoba rangshin yang kanglang ganzam jotong zangma bet korang cha meba de ni tagma da nija yoba de changju sanba dinzo yinsa. Da shindo namda triba ni baja da jeba tamja chang ne ni ngobe nesul chema che shindo ni sekba sanamido nesul da nangzong ne tongwa. Di la ni sanje labu yoyo san shung korang nala dende sung yore.
Now, the main topic of this text, the Buddha nature, is also known by different names, like in Sanskrit it's the Tathagata Garbha, right? But it's also known as the element or dhatu in Sanskrit, kam in Tibetan. So this element or cause, seed. Also it's known as a Buddha. So how is it? What is this Buddha nature? It is said to be empty by essence, luminous by nature, and also endowed with this all-pervasive compassionate energy. So these three qualities of essence, nature, and energy are there. They should be there. That's Buddha nature. So the empty essence, that's the aspect of the Buddha nature explained according to the second turning of the wheel, where it said that phenomena are not truly existent, that nothing really can be found to exist ultimately. But that doesn't mean that there's just this empty vacuum, like nothingness, like blankness. That's not that. There's this empty space, but within this, there's also luminous nature. And not only that, there's also this all-pervasive, compassionate manifestation of that energy. And that manifests, that all-pervasive, compassionate energy manifests itself as a further three qualities of wisdom, love, and power. So this all-pervasive compassionate energy has this omniscient wisdom that knows phenomena as they are and also knows all phenomena in their multiplicity.
다 당자디 가리레스 저서는 대화르시 본 힘보스는 슝기 저자데로와 대신님보스 그래 레캄냥스 그래 리야라 그래 캄냥라 그래 사분야라 그래 나상제야라 그래 다코 간데로지 요레스디 모어 디 땅바임바 랑신 살와임바 네 도제 군잡임바 제주 숨된지 고고요래 뭐 때문에 까 바바 망신 셰바 따르도 제바제나 내주매바 나 동도 동장 아니 남카 망신 주네매바 된저레베스나 말에 고랑 예랑신데 살와진 거고래 랑신 살와 임바데 강도 고수도 그래서는 콜라 제주 숨요래 도제 군잡 제주들라 켐바 세워 누바숨 켐바 지대진이 현재기 조담제 켐바 조여바 아니 도지 선전论매당외의 닝자 미범미베 닝제여바 아니 누바여바 강나칸도지 텔레제베 누바 숨 참대여바 데라 아니 내신용보 세계요래
The loving kindness and compassion is the quality that doesn't let any sentient being down. It doesn't forsake any being without exception. And power, it's this enlightened activity that leads beings to enlightenment. That's power. So this wisdom, love, and power, that's part of the all-pervasive compassionate energy. So the one who sees that, the one who realizes and sees that being is known as a Buddha, an awakened one. And in this text, the Buddha is someone who is endowed with the 8 qualities, the 3 qualities pertaining to the personal benefit and the 3 qualities pertaining to the benefit of others altogether. Then it's 8, counting together self and other benefit as well. And the Buddha is someone then who shows us the path, and that showing the path is known as the Dharma. And the ones that practice on the path, those beings are known as the Sangha, the community of practitioners. So the Dharma is... So let's look at the Buddha first. The Buddha is someone who is endowed with the 3 kayas, that embodiment of the 3 kayas, 3 bodies. Dharmakaya, Samkhagakaya, Nirmanakaya. And Samkhagakaya and Nirmanakaya also are grouped together as Rupakaya, form body. Dharmakaya is this all-pervasive open space, ing, that is free of any mental constructs, mental elaborations, where also, where form kaya, the Rupakaya, is the inherent presence of all the enlightened qualities, innate presence of all the enlightened qualities. That then is the Rupakaya, or form body. In another way, we can say Dharmakaya is this open space where Rupakaya, the form body, appears from within that open space of Dharmakaya without wavering from it, right? Without wavering away from Dharmakaya, the Samkhagakaya and Nirmanakaya can appear, and they do appear.
다 된데 여바디 아니 수이등기래 시리자나 대등기데 밀라 산제 아니 땡자지 람데 밀라 쳬 엔템바 람데란 저겐데 맹데라 캔드윈스는 도스타 요레 Chito tawana sanje sana khandere sedu sana. Sanje ni shung diji ni gongba dardo cheba ina tuni yunden jeden sungre. Rangdun chogu tarchenpa da. Shendun sugu tarchenpa. Ani chogu tarchenpa jun drupje ani tonda sum. Sugu tarchenpa drupje ani tonda sum jeba lebi yungure. Tadi nga zo ani tanda kale shugin. Wa dorna uni ji tangi segurwa. Chogu sumzindi namdo tamjilen debi sanamendo. Choba tamjilen jalo ingdi yimbala. Ani degi nangcha nu sugu de karere yunden tamji rangche su yoba. Wa tende ji ngo de la ni sanje lamran jigire. Yang chogu tongba ni ji inla maye shindu sugu kang la kang do ji gune longjo zo be ko da chul be ko gune jiri nang chogu yoba. Wa tende ji ngo de la ni sanje se yure. Yunden ke de ngo zo kala shugi.
So the Buddha, if we talk a little bit more about the Buddha, there is the different ways to define the Buddha. The one way according to the fundamental vehicle and another way according to the Mahayana. According to the fundamental vehicle, the Buddha is defined as only Dharmakaya, that open space, right? Free from all mental constructs, as we have seen just now. That's the Buddha, right? But the form body of the Buddha, the appearing, right, aspects of the Buddha, that's the Nirmanakaya, the emanation body, or the Samkhagakaya, the pure enjoyment body, those are said to be the form. And for the fundamental vehicle practitioners, the form is something defiled, something impure. So for them, of course, the form body, like emanation body of the Buddha who appeared in this world, is still a support for their practice. It's still regarded to be a great support for making offerings to, and so gathering accumulation, gathering merit, but it's not defined as the ultimate Buddha as such, right? It's just the support for Dharmakaya. It's like extra support. But the real Buddha is only cessation. That's only Dharmakaya. Only the cessation one. In reality,
Da dende sanje de ngozen che ko bala jintwe lo de sanje ngozen che da tekwa chembo lo de sanje ngozen che da ne re me do ni le byung yure ta nyendwe lo la sanje se du chogu la ngozen che gre chogu se du ane cheba sama pang simba ane chenja yunden ne chen sembaji sugu de ne sanji ngoma mare sugu de ne karso 풍부 뒤기 랑신 네 뒤기 ngore de yure pangjare sajere 아니 디상 깔바 탕노숨도 소사발라 때는 중샤베 상제지 최고지 땡 켜버도 봐봐지래 이나야 상징 얼마데 말해 년도줄로나 노스모진낭도 유래 아니 딜라 차처바 표선도 소남 첨바사 그래 최고지 땡님 바로 와서 이 상징 얼마데 아니 최고지 뭐든지 그래 최고지는 고빙오래 람당 고반이는 고빙오는 거진낭도 유래 나서
In reality, these three kayas, right, they are not different in essence. They're only different in terms of how they appear for different beings. It's like describing fire from different angle. Like we can say that, oh, the color of the flame is red. And then also we can describe the flames as emitting heat. So this heat, these red flames, they portray fire from different point of view, but in essence they portray the same thing, right? They're the same. You can't separate the redness and the heat of the flame. So in this same way, they're actually the kayas, where the Buddha Dharmakaya is this open, all-pervasive space, but it appears for beings in this different way. Like for pure beings, it appears as the Samkhagakaya. For impure beings, it appears the emanation body. So there's this appearances, but in essence, these different kayas are not different from each other. And actually, for the
nga thaiwa chimbu ne sanje kunyi ji tangni lamna yan jigre kusum ji tangni lamna yan jige yure chogu soku sedo zana kaga din sigim namba logare ni dulja ji nanda logare ngo kaga yo mare me yen do dang me ye karasa ore nyeba ni me nyeba de tsawar wa do da marbo yor wa ta chik dog ne nang jore chik nyeba ne nang jore ma do kunyi ngola kaga yo mare ane sanje kora rangu ji ingdi ne samlo dana chogu sigi yore di ane choba tamche dang choba rangshin re shengun ne nang yong do zana sogo sigi re ta di la sanje rang nang dang dulja taga bengun ne nang la longchok zubi ko dulja madag bengun ne nang dang la chugo ina di sum ngo kaga re basana ngo kaga kyuna mara ngo ane chikwa chijang re samda thayba chenpe dende dogu re sanje je babu khungpa re 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 ne yeshe jindu bare jendang babu se ra bu babu igung chung chung re 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 ne jen nyen nako che samda jagarwa jagdang gu yonzo re 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 ne yeshe la thadiba mare sanje je jen je ge chö thamje kendo gu yore sanje je babu je ge chö thamje kendo gu yore jazang sanje ji kusum dokche yawa ma do ba ngole ke bar me sevendi ente ko chumbe de ne shigre
ji pe pe shabuji chemda
bena
yana pe mare ye mare
de de sanje ji de don khara sanje ji jin ji ge chö tamje king yore sanje ji na khu ji sheba ji ge chö tamje king re sanje ji amjo gi sheba ji ge chö tamje king re sanje babu ji la yeshe ji de bar babu ji ge chö tamje king re ka yeshe re nazo babu de sorwa shin marwa sanje yeshe ji de bar se theba chembo de ne dogre
So for the Mahayana, the Buddha's form in that way, is that also not different from his wisdom, from Dharmakaya? Unlike it is for the fundamental vehicle, where form is something defiled and it's not the ultimate kind of object of refuge, it's not the Buddha, but ultimately for the Mahayana, the form of the Buddha is also wisdom, like his eyes, his ears, even the hair on his body, his nose, everything is this primordial wisdom, wakefulness. Like for us ordinary beings, our hair is not wisdom. It cannot cognize ultimately null phenomena, right? But for the Buddha, it actually is the case. So his body is enlightened, and in essence, it's not different from the Dharmakaya.
Dene yundu, ane chogo sena kandere jila gogore se du dagba nyi denge ing tardo se yore. Dagba nyi se du ngo ye dagda lor taldag se go yore wa. Ngo ye ne dagba de chodamji je ranshin, ane tongba nyi yinba dang, dewar shibu nyingbo ji ngo yinba de ngo ye ne dagba yin kare. Di tengdo lor sunga dan zimbi, ane tima paja da jeba tamje changwa yindu, ane karsa gore, lor gi ane treba dagba yin se gore. O di dagba nyi dengi chodamji je nelo yin, ngo yin de la ane chogo se go yore. ane da sogo sena kare se gore san dagba nyi dengi yin tardo ge nangwe cha la go yore. Nangwe cha tardo. ane kwa la ane sogo se gore wa, sogo de la nongjo zobe ku da chulbe ku je nyi yawa yore. ane sogo se du da dagba tardo yinba re de ngeba nga dengi ane sogo tardo san la go yore. ngeba nga kare sana ne ngeba. ane sangye nongjo zobe ku di ne de ane nga zo dulja tamal yenang tuku ma re. omingi shingam, tabi shingam re. ane ku ngeba, nongjo zobe ku di ku ane tsendang peche sangbo ane tuyada nambo gondo yore. ane kor ngeba, tsen sangbo sonye dang peche sangbo jeju, tsendang peche. ku ngeba, ku di tsen sangbo sonye dang peche sangbo jeju, kadu na yore. koro yang ngeba re, koro sa tangbo la nebe changju samba yenche, sa tangbo ne chuba bardo nebe changju samba kona re mato ba, sozo kiwo jinang tuku maran jal tuku yo ma re. koro yang ngeba re. chuyo yang ngeba re, chuyo kari sungo re, tekba chumbe chuyo kona mato, am chuyo shenpa chune sungo ma re, kaya sana koro tekba chumbe mato yo ma ro wa. chuyo ngeba de tekba chumbe kona re. tuyi ngeba takjab lundub se re, ka tuyi na yo re, tadi gongba nyangala daya soto da te ku tewu chakzong sekang to dende yo ma re. Di tuida namba kundu yo ba dende ngeba nga dengi sugo tardo de la lonjok zobe ko sa. Da chigil la yo re, chugu. trubu de nebanga da medembe sogo tardo segre ko 가서라 내가 말해 내 어느 쪽 인기 고 포장 집어 말해도 내 다다 마다 신경 까올라야 한 거고 이래 코랑 내가 요 말해 거 가서 그래 다베 장주 삼바 요래 소소되어 요래 마다바 요래 라 요래 루 요래 미 요래 예다 요래 던도 요래 냐와 요래 섬제 코 망해 봐래 अन्य मांगे बारो लालू निजिन लासो बता दमाद सिंगम खावला योरे अनि कुयां मांगे बारे को कब खासे जो शाके तो बना से चोकी चुलबो को चंदा पेचे तेंबा योरे कब खासे जो माता बतने दुंडो जिलु नावा योरे मी लु यो बारे ता 강당 강야 नास योरे कुयां मांगे बारे 최장 망해 바래 저 때문에 대과 최종 림바 강라 강도 유고네 최지 pomba 제리 지동도 용소 송스 그래 돌자 강라 강송 거고도 대송도 그래 뒤양 내봐 여 말해 안까벌로 송그래 까벌 송고 말해 나서 단다 산제 좀 도든으로 버까벌 되게 다게 퇴바 뒤지나 세그로와 송부 뒤소지 그래 산제 산제네 다와직 제라 송그래당 로직 제라 송그래당 아니 로투 제라 송게라다 로주니 제라 송게라 세로지 요래 어디 가서는데 로투 투부지 송다 뒤양 내바래 아니 어딘데로지 내바 나다 메덴베 뒤 내바 나가서 그러 내방하다 메덴베 수고 다르도라 아니 툴베고 세게래 나서
If we look at the Dharmakaya, the truth body of the Buddha, and further explain it, we have to define it as being this ultimate space, openness, which is endowed with the two types of purity. So this ing, the space, endowed with two types of purity. So now what are the two types of purity? The first purity is purity of being primordially enlightened, primordial Buddha, primordially innate, inherent nature of Buddha. That's the first purity, that present in all beings, right? We all are primordially, inherently already endowed with this Buddha, enlightened nature. Everyone has it. That refers to also this emptiness, that's true nature of all phenomena, right? But it's just there, innately, in everyone, that kind of purity. But the second type of purity is the purity which is the freedom from adventitious stains, freedom from these temporary, fleeting obscurations. That kind of purity is not that everyone is endowed with, right? That's the one where you actually had to remove, to purify these fleeting adventitious stains and obscurations. So Dharmakaya is endowed with this both purities, right? It's this ultimate space that contains both purities. So now let's look at the form kaya, Rupa kaya, which is divided into two, right? The Nirmanakaya, emanation body, and Samkhagakaya, enjoyment body. So what is the Samkhagakaya? The enjoyment body is the ultimate form which is endowed with the five certainties. What are the five certainties of Samkhagakaya? Well, Samkhagakaya has a certain place where it appears. It's always the pure realm of Akanishta, right? That's only appears there, in the Akanishta realm. It's also endowed with the second type of certainty, which is has a certain form. Samkhagakaya appears only in the form which is endowed with the 32 major and 80 minor marks. It's endowed with this 112 major and minor marks. That's defined. It's certain. That's how Samkhagakaya is. It can only appear as such with these qualities of 112 aspects of a form. It's also endowed with the certain retinue, the third certainty here. Retinue of Samkhagakaya is consists only of the bodhisattvas who abide on the 10 bodhisattva grounds, bodhisattva bhumis. So no one else but this kind of beings who abide on the bodhisattva ground can actually be receiving teachings from Samkhagakaya because they are not part of retinue, right? So only those bodhisattvas are. The fourth certainty is the teachings that Samkhagakaya teaches. The Dharma, the certain Dharma, it's only the Mahayana Dharma. There's no any other type of Dharma that Samkhagakaya is going to teach, but only Mahayana, the great vehicles Dharma. The fifth certainty that Samkhagakaya is endowed with, it's time. And the time is that it's omnipresent. There's no time when it's goes away and doesn't teach and kind of passes away and reappears. That's not the case. It's just always present. There's no way to kind of for it to be and then not to be later, right? That's the fifth certainty. That's how Samkhagakaya is. It's this ultimate form that's endowed with 5 certainties. Now, the second subdivision of the Rupakaya is Nirmanakaya. That's emanation body of the Buddha. And that's the ultimate form that is not endowed with the 5 certainties. That's kind of the definition of Nirmanakaya. It doesn't have these 5 certainties because you see, in terms of place, the Buddha can appear anywhere. It's not only that he comes in and teaches from within the pure realm of Akanishta. That's not the case. He can be anywhere, he can be in any realm of human, even animal realm, he can go to hell realms and teach there. So the place is basically everywhere for the Nirmanakaya. The form is also doesn't need to be bound by having this 112 pure, major and minor marks. It could, yes, some Nirmanakaya, body of the Buddha is actually endowed with that. 112 major and minor marks, but not always. The Buddha could appear as an animal. It could appear as an ordinary being. For what we know, that would be a Buddha, but it doesn't really have those kind of major and minor marks. So again, the form does not have that kind of certain appearance. Retinue of the Buddha, again, there is no boundaries there. It doesn't need to be only the bodhisattvas on the bhumis. It could be anyone, it could be humans, it could be animals. Actually, that's the case. It's nagas, gods, hungry ghosts, hell beings. All of those beings can be the retinue of the Nirmanakaya emanation body of the Buddha. As for the next certainty, which is the teachings, again, there's a different types of teachings that the Buddha gave. He gave the fundamental vehicle teachings, gave the Mahayana teachings, Vajrayana, it all according to the needs of the disciples. As for the time, again, there is no this kind of omnipresence of the Buddha that he taught at always, right? Always being there, always teaching. The Buddha came, the Buddha taught, he left, and he didn't teach at all the times. That's why the sutras, the recorded words of the Buddha, start with "once have I heard," "thus have I heard." So it refers to very specific time span when the Buddha taught. It means that other time the Buddha didn't teach. So maybe the Buddha taught in that particular place, right? Then 10 years later he taught. Then maybe he didn't teach. That's the time of the of the Buddha, Nirmanakaya's Buddha's way of teaching. It's not always present. It's according to the situations. In this way, the Nirmanakaya is the ultimate form of the Buddha, but it's not endowed with the 5 certainties.
네, 다 나신도 tulbe sung nya mangya barela kuya mangya bare ta di duljala tunne nang ro pena
Kareman gonda sung
namkala
gonda kareman ne pa su kudan
kuyang sung diang ka bola chö shemba sungare ka bola shen sungare dana ji kuyang mangya bare ka bola chö tulbe ku nangre ka bola ku mangya na so tulgo ka bola kewa tulgo la so bada menda kaya nang jogre di duljala tene nang yore duljaji tazona kudiyang ta zhongwi namba doje tong yong yore di kandere se du sanje jerang shin de namkhala yobe nima nang shin re 아니 니마데 가준에 샤르데 요레데 니마데 송년데 중마중데 안 가릴라라레도 아니 추당 추예멜라라레그와 송년 샤르사 추 최종 소소소소 요나 추 코랑코랑다 tom바지 니메 송년 샤르투 그래 추 자조 전부 라이 이나양 송년 요레 징부 중중지 이나양 송년 요레 퍼버 중중지 나라 아니 추강 샤바 이나양 니메 송년 샤르 그래 아니 퍼버디 차바당 추데 깜바당 자조디 다 라소바 메바 차바이나 니메 송년데야 라도 그래 산제기 독제 가드나 내ring 요 말에데 둘자기 소남당 레족소나 네 산제고마 미나와로제 차도고 바디 다 툴비고 된지 남바 된데래 이 초글레 카가지다 롱글레 카가 되는 말에데 둘자 낭다 면다와다 레다 몰람 유메지 제발 차도고레스 맞아
The other difference between Nirmanakaya, the emanation body, and the other two kayas of the Buddha, the Samkhagakaya and Dharmakaya, is that, there's no certainty there for the form. The Nirmanakaya form can appear as the manifold, we can say manifold emanation body, can appear as this kind of variegated emanation body, could appear in the other way as a supreme Nirmanakaya. So there's different ways, different types of Nirmanakaya, different forms. And so it gives teachings, and according to the needs and predisposition of disciples. So again, there's no certainty there. It's not bound by kind of this 5 certainties like Samkhagakaya. Rather, the Nirmanakaya Buddha, this form of the Buddha, appears and teaches and appears in different forms and gives teachings all according to the situation it finds itself in, all according to what disciples are there and what they need. The example would be of the sun that's always there, but whether we have the reflection of the sun entirely depends on whether or not we have the body of water where this reflection can reflect, right? So the sun is always there, but the reflection of the sun we can see on the surface only when we have that water, right? The body of water. It could be as large as large ocean, but it could be also small, like a small pond or lake, and it could be just a cup of water. And even in the cup of water, we can still see that reflection of the sun for as long as the water is there. But you see, sun is always there, but sometimes water is not there. Like it can dry out, we can pour it out of our cup. And so actually in that time, we cannot see that reflection of the sun, because if we don't have the vessel or the body of water, the sun is not going to be reflected. This is kind of the situation between the beings like us and the Nirmanakaya Buddha. The Buddha's light and activity is always there. It doesn't have any bias in terms of who is, being close to some, being far from others. It doesn't have that. It's impartial. It's always there. That's Nirmanakaya. But nevertheless, it doesn't always appear. And the reason is us. Beings, our needs, our predispositions, sometimes that's just messed up, and so we don't have good karma, we don't have aspirations, and so even though the Buddha, sun-like Buddha is there, it's not going to be reflected. The Nirmanakaya Buddha is not going to be, reflected, because our body of water is gone. We don't have karma, we don't have aspirations. So really, the appearance of Nirmanakaya Buddha depends on all those kind of different sets that, of karma, aspiration, needs, predispositions of sentient beings. In reality, the Nirmanakaya is not different from the other two bodies, right? But it functions kind of in this different way. It manifests in different way, rather, how Dharmakaya or Samkhagakaya are. It manifests very much according to us, the recipients, on the other end, right? So there's this kind of intimate link between us beings retinue and the Nirmanakaya Buddha, and whether or not it appears and in what way it appears, really.
Masota dende gi ngo de la sanjes de la tomba la bure 아니 다 recommendation 임보지 뭐 땡긴데 어디래 다디 가리 땡기래 땡자데 명라는 담에 최서기래 아니 최서도 쮸밤 규르와도지라다 보고래 양나 최서도는 짐바 쮸바 규르와 짐바 아니 강는 것은 지난 데도 쮸밤 규르와 가리래 아주 뭐베시 뭐나데라 야 탁바 인나양 아주 마다바 진데요래 디도 짐바데 바 쮸고고요래 디 짐바데 바 규르고고요래 덴데라 쮸밤 규르스그래 양 짐바라 쮸라 그래 가리 짐고ren 단당 아주 송와데 짐바라서 바 마다바 로마 사데요와 마다바 로던서 파 뼈당도서 살네 네로 코랑기 간로 출라바 뒤버치기 요상 짐바 스기요래 오다 딜라네 최사
Jikapsu nelugdzim.
멜로젠바 나서
That was for description of our teacher, the Buddha, the one who demonstrates Buddha nature to us. And the means by which the Buddha demonstrates Buddha nature to us, those kind of means, different methods, different ways of teaching are known as the Dharma. And the meaning of this term, Dharma, if we were to look at it etymologically, is actually change. It's transformation. That's what Dharma means, to change, to transform. Or the second way to understand this term Dharma is to hold something. So let's look at the first one. The change, transformation, is when we transform our way of grasping onto impure phenomena. How right now we ordinary beings see the world. We see it in the impure way, and so we grasp to it, we hold tightly onto it. Letting that go, transforming that process is known as the Dharma. But another way to understand etymologically the term Dharma is to hold. So what are we then holding? What's the Dharma, right? Holds. Well, once we clear away those kind of grasping, fixation on impure way of being, what manifests there is the natural state of all phenomena, the true inherent nature of all phenomena, and holding that would be another way. That's also the Dharma, holding that true way of being. So that's also, that process of holding is also known as the Dharma. So one way it's transformation, but in another way it's also upholding something.
다디다 우추들라 아니 무슨 제다 양 태버 시중기 무슨 제다 중세 민다오 요래 아니 년대 대베 주 엄마디 남지 템발랑 무슨 제난 그래 코라다 내송기 레 겹신 짐버 제겐자나면도 심규기 레다 녀몽도 최근 조대 남된대로 안냠년 제겐대로 와서 주 엄마디 남지 템바인스 사바메비 랑신기 남지 템바디 아니 담비 최인 송요래.
Now, the Dharma is the second jewel, again, is differently presented in the different vehicles. Here we are looking at how the fundamental vehicle of the Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, define the Dharma, and also how the proponents of the Mahayana define it. So for the fundamental vehicle proponents, Dharma means the truth of the path. It's the path. It's undefiled path, pure path. The path where we work on clearing away karma, disturbing emotions, the path that leads us out of samsara, this cyclic existence, and beyond. So that kind of process of traversing the path is the Dharma, according to the fundamental vehicle.
다 대고 전부기 주의 롱다 또베 주의 니여레스는 kellen지그래 즉 년도기 롱도니 타니 베주 단계래 중엄마디 또베 주의 인스그러와 또베 주나네 람den이 라브로와 대고 전부 롱도니자 주의 선이 바인 스는 kellen지그래
For the Mahayana proponents, Dharma consists of two divisions. the Dharma is known as the Dharma of scriptural transmission and the Dharma of realization. So you see, for the fundamental vehicle proponents, the Dharma is only this realization, described in terms of the truth of the path, realizing something, right? That's the path. That's the Dharma for them. But for the Mahayana followers, the scriptures, the transmission of the scriptures is also defined as the real Dharma.
네, 다 롱기 주 가당 텐주지 된된절라 퇴바당 삼바당 어디 퇴섬니 이번에네 로독주 마당 네바냐버지베 랑신 된조디 아니 롱기 주로와 대양 타바당 담제진비 아니 교지 자그여도 아니 저인 송거래 또비 죄데 다가당 텐주낭로 송샤베 된데 아니 냠절랑베 차다 냠절랑베 저우차지 니용거래 냠zo langwe chadela lamji tenpa sikire. 냠zo langne tobe chadela gobe tenpa sang lamdang goba nija ane chwe chanyi ba zikire. Shidu gok sidu ta nyamlen che nyomongpa da sheche triba laso pa triba nye pangye pangwe chadela goba re. Pangje ye nyembo dila lamji tenpa sikire nija ane chwe chanyi ba yin sungire.
So for the followers of the great vehicle scriptures, such as the words of the Buddha and also the treatises composed by the followers of the Buddha, both these words of the Buddha treatises considered to be the Dharma. The scriptures is the real Dharma, right? Because when we study the scriptures, when we reflect on the scriptures, we are able to cut through our doubts, through our misunderstanding, and we are able to gain certainty. So that's why the scriptural transmission is also considered to be the Dharma for the Mahayana proponents. It leads to us to understand things clearly, gain certainty. But of course, then realization, that's the Dharma realization, is what really comprises liberation and the state of omniscience. So now for the Mahayana followers, the Dharma of realization consists of two aspects, right? The practice, but also the result of that practice. The practice here would be the path. That's the process of us obtaining the result. So that process of practicing, it's the path. But the result of that practice for the Mahayana, that's the cessation. That's also the part of the Dharma, unlike it is for the fundamental vehicle, where they have only that aspect of the path, right? For the Mahayana, it's not only the path, because that's the practice, but also the result of that practice, which is cessation. Cessation means that you actually abandoning those obscurations, afflictive emotions, based on the remedy, which is the truth of the path. So it's really both considered the path and the truth of the path, and the truth of cessation. Both are the authentic Dharma of realization for the Mahayana followers.
다 디도 최대 수이 송바레 시도잖아 최기 된탐제 도바 타르젠바 덴지 공도슈베 산제데 아니 템바레데 최디 아니 뭐바 랑신 가리 마디 산제지 송샤바라 산제지 쇠샤바지다 마임발라 임바도바다 임발라 마임바도바데 개마레 최디 내롱마 가리임바 디 아니 산지 텐샤바데라 아니 템바스 최사
And so these two aspects of the Dharma, the scriptures, this transmission of the scriptures, and realization, which is the path and cessation, all of that was taught by the Buddha, was shown by the Buddha. So the Buddha has shown us the Dharma. And here by the Dharma, we need to understand that the Buddha has shown us things as they truly are. Right? He demonstrated us what's really there. This natural state of all phenomena. He didn't make it up. He didn't describe something which actually is not the case, which is not there, and then the Buddha somehow ascribed that reality to it. Oh, it is this way, but actually it's not that way. That's not the case. The Buddha just basically what he did, he just revealed what was always there. He didn't create it. He didn't make it up. He didn't exaggerate anything. He didn't denigrate, took away, omitted anything. He just pointed exactly as it is. So what he pointed to us, that's known as the Dharma, right? That's the second jewel.
다 디슝 디나라 아니 쳬딜랑 고람 여든 제데 송요데 다 디체마칼레 쿠랑 올라 레비옹 그래.
And in this text, the jewel of the Dharma described as described as the jewel, which is endowed with the 6 qualities pertaining to the truth of the path and the truth of cessation. Again, here we count these headings, the truth of the path, the truth of cessation as the heading, and the three qualities all together. Then we say that the Dharma is endowed with 8 qualities. And that's what you're going to look at slowly as you proceed with these Dharma sessions.
Nita dida 쳬데 냠즈 랑켄스 나면도 산지지 술라 템바레 람나 겐든 라세게레 겐든 세데 게올라 둠바 야나 초지 슝코나나 산지 최소 카문다 장주도 최소 송여로 속바 속바 담지 나는 초도 겨바들라 겐든 세게레
So, and those who then practice the Dharma, implement these teachings in their lives, really put that teachings of the Dharma, that path realization onto practice, are known as the Sangha, the third jewel. So literally, etymologically, this Sangha, at least from Tibetan, Gendun in Tibetan, means those who aspire to virtue. Right? So if we look at the Tibetan term for this, for Sangha, it really means just those who really have strong interest in doing something meaningful, something good, virtuous. But another etymological, explanation, explanation of the term itself, of the Sangha, is that of a gathering, a group of beings gathered together. But here the Sangha as the jewel doesn't refer to just any gathering, any crowd of beings, but the supreme gathering, the gathering of the supreme beings, right? That's the Sangha.
파베 강상 남기 귤라 유비 만도들라 챵바들 무슨 제가 유래 대니 균쇼 치롬 칠명바 다좀바시 레레라야니 규이 차지단 데우차스 그래 슈바단 데네 슈바데네 제가 니니 예와 유래 딘조다니 겐드니 있는 거래 아니 둘이 로라 삼다만 이나 양견에서 다테스 가가 유래 대니 결혼시 연체 좀 막혀놓는 저기 말아 숨 저기 말아 희나 또돈 연체 뭔가 좀 만들라 엔 캔드스냥 메다다제 요래
디텍션으로
디 말아라 딩이자 니토줄로래 민베 로지 무슨 제단제다 둘이 로지 무슨 제단이 테스카가 요래 뭔가 로디 똑발라 무슨 제그래 쳔발라 둘이로들라 강사 결혼시 인지 좀 고고요래
라서 캠플로토체 칙디 카레 바디 인서나 디
균슈 치롱 칠명 가좀바 슈바단 제네
디 슈바단 제네 디측디
규딜라 슈바 데우딜라 제네
인지케츠지 제송고 dakcha
슈바 주바 남로 drowa dang leba
what followers, yes. Last one. So then the Sangha, the supreme gathering of those who inspire to virtue, is again defined slightly differently according to the 2 vehicles, that of fundamental one and the great one. The fundamental vehicle itself has 2 different ways to define the Sangha, one according to the Abhidharma tradition and another one according to the Vinaya tradition. So it's both still according to the fundamental vehicle. So now let's look how they define the Sangha according to the Abhidharma tradition. So for them, according to Abhidharma, the Sangha really refers to wisdom, not to people, not to real beings, but to the wisdom, to the knowledge that is present in their beings. And in terms of the wisdom, there are 4 stages there, right? According to Abhidharma, there are 4 different stages of that knowledge. It's known as the ones who entered into the stream, then once returners, who still come back to samsara once, in other words, then non-returners, so their wisdom is already like they're not going to come back to samsara, and the arhats, the 4 destroyers. Again, this is not the people per se, but rather that aspect of knowledge, of wisdom, right? And it's not only in terms of the result, but also in terms of the cost. So it's both those who still try to achieve that result, like the followers, and also those who have already arrived to that result. So the wisdom in process, like let's say the first one entering into the stream, like that wisdom, like attaining it slowly entering into the stream. So it's still a process. That's already a Sangha. But also once you already arrive to that result, stream enterer, that's again a Sangha. And same for all 4, right? Once returner, non-returner, arhat, all of them have this double division of those who still follow the path and those who have arrived at that final destination, right, of that stage of the wisdom. Now, according to the Vinaya of the fundamental vehicle, Sangha refers to the actual beings, people, and a minimum of 4. So 4 ordained beings. The gelong repe shira gelong, yeah, 4. Yes, 4 ordained, minimum 4. It could be 5, it could be 6, 7, but not less than 4. So here you see it not anymore about the level of their realization, but it's rather being just about actually ordained monks being gathered together in the same place, minimum of 4 people. That will be a Sangha defined by the Vinaya tradition of the fundamental vehicle.
And that takes chimbo lola can do Kevalam Dumirajin Kevi Nolan Juhinji Kure. Tatila Teba Chamber can do second Jeda Sozo can Mortebach Pavi can do Jeda Sozo can do Niyo Chegre. And the Sozo can do the Solam Chumun Shun Sanamendo Chabdo Tombak Helen Chevne on the Kewa Judu Megawa Chupan. And then goes on that Shine down Karasavilla Lado, Dharma Labasum Yamin, Jed you go to Vaneson the Sama, Kendundre. Kansa Mando Zongo Mendo, so Lagore, the Sonan, the Yeshi, so silent, Bezun Cheding Inze, and Kendu in Chogure, de la Suzuki Kendu Segre.
Michikian, right? Tigre.
Michiki Digere, Dunduyan Digere, La Digere, Takandra, Kansa Yin Che, Kewa Drubgi Yoba, Diva Pangi Yoba. 미율도 데 타르바당 탐지kimben 고방 토벨라 주게 양나 타르바 양나 탐지kimba 딜라 람미율제는 저긴니 개와 두번 강보 겐전제 코 수라 제바르여 말에 류딘라 제바르여 말에 미고그레 라고그레선 여 말에 까르존난 저기 여래 아니 니바데 파비 겐전제 파비 겐전데 천인원숨도 도바 코 년도지 이나다 대바준바이나 장주선바이나다 상마지 귤라니 또바고 그래 Ribado Tulu Yundens, the Shungdinala, Rirul Yunden Kedin Sungre, the Tabachu Kenan Tochine, Ribu Yundensum, Tulu Yundensum, and Tende Yugensanan, the Tabachumbacha, Kandar, Korwal La Keji, Leda Nyoman Pawada. Any Tangme to be Kembangonsum, the Yuhendela, Pabik and Dunsa. And Tabachumba Lola, any Dendela Kenan Secret.
Dharmagyan Kerchiksun.
Korwala Keji, Leda Nyoman Pangwa. Did the Pangwachare. Kembe Chade Karukore, Tame between Monsum to Tobachikore. What the La Pabik and Sokola, Niendo, Nierang, Niendo, Ranjal, Yorela, and the Tabachumba Changes and Bayan Yore. 대과 첨부는 창모 견눈나는 찌그래.
Sangha Gendo Lasso.
Oh, lasso. Jikapsu suyan radi Gendon lasso. Now, how does the Mahayana define the Sangha? There's also division there. It's twofold. For the Mahayana proponents, the Sangha could consist of ordinary beings, so they also could be defined as being a Sangha, but also noble beings. Sangha, that's the second way of defining the Sangha. Let's look at the first one. So for the Mahayana proponents, anyone, it doesn't need to be being on any of the 5 paths, like path of accumulation, and so on, but anyone who is taking refuge and then is striving to practice virtue. Remember, that's definition of Sangha. Who is interested in taking up the practice of 10 virtue, abandoning the 10 non-virtues, practicing the 3 trainings in discipline, meditation, wisdom, right? That would be a Sangha. And this could be one being. And now but what about the gathering? That's etymological, right? That's the meaning of Sangha. Etymologically, it means grouping something together. But actually, here it could be just one individual. But the gathering here refers to the gathering of merit of that individual, interest in gathering merit, let's say, aspiration to gather merit, aspiration to gather wisdom. So that kind of interest in gaining that virtue, merit, wisdom, makes that person a Sangha, right? Because it's a gathering of those virtuous deeds. And it could be one human, it could be one animal. That could also be Sangha for the Mahayana practitioners. Anyone, any being interested in virtue in that way and taking up virtue in that way could be a god, it could be a naga, right? Anyone who has that goal to achieve either liberation or a state of omniscience, and in order to achieve that, really striving on the path, practicing 10 virtuous deeds, 3 trainings, etc., that's Sangha. That's ordinary beings. Now, also for the Mahayana practitioners, there's a second way to define the Sangha, and it's the Sangha consisting of noble beings. And here it could be any noble ones. Doesn't need to be bodhisattvas. It could be also Shavaka, because Shavakas, right, they also could be noble beings who have seen inherent nature of themselves, of selflessness of an individual. Could be Arhat, could be Bodhisattva. So anyone who has seen things as they truly are, anyone who had that insight into the true nature of reality, that's a noble being, whether it's Shavaka, Pratyeka Buddha, or Bodhisattva, and that's a Sangha for the Mahayana proponents. Now, in this text, Uttaratantra Shastra, the Sangha is defined as being endowed again with like 6 qualities. The 3 pertaining to awareness, having that insight awareness. And the 3 qualities pertain to liberation, freeing oneself from something. So anyone who has achieved that, and those qualities will be again further described in the text later on, anyone who has these 3 qualities of awareness, 3 qualities of liberation, right, that's the Sangha, that's the noble beings, those who have abandoned the causes for samsara, karma, and afflictive emotions, and have seen the true natural state as it is. In other words, anyone who had wisdom that realizes selflessness, the lack of truly existent self, that becomes a noble being, and that person or beings become Sangha.
니 흉디 나나 레베 윤된 숨 철 윤된 숨제 레르 윤된 게된 남자야 송도 그래.
And just to make it clear, in this text, again, the Sangha is said to be endowed with 8 qualities. The 3 pertaining to awareness, and we count awareness, there is also quality, and 3 pertaining to liberation. And so then counting liberation, then altogether it's 8.
니 다데절라 하는 감다 윤된 텔레 장죽된조 맞아 돈다 제마게 지시기.
So now, as for the other remaining 4 Vajra points, because actually there was 3 first Vajra points, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the remaining are the 4th point is the element, which is Buddha nature, then we have enlightenment, activity, qualities, activity. This we will look at in detail next week.
나서 누가님도 송로나
Let's dedicate married together?
Sonam ni damje zebani Tome nyebe drama damje ne Yega maje balam drobai Sibe zolem drowa drowaraijo Chanjo samjo remboje Maje banam jejuruji Keba nyamba meba yang Kone kondo belwarasho Lazo ane samala tuji che Tunda shima jayong
Thank you, everyone, and see you next week.
Lazo